Hello friends, and welcome to another video. So you probably know from the title of this video already that today I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about my type 1 diabetes, and I do want to kind of do a day in life and just kind of show you. It will just give you kind of a lot more insight rather than me just sitting here and talking about my type 1 diabetes. But I do want to do a sit down portion first, and I did ask on Instagram kind of what you guys preferred, and it was 50-50ish, but I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what type 1 diabetes is, what it entails, what the differences are between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, how it could impact me. And honestly, it's kind of crazy to me that I haven't done this video yet. I've had this YouTube channel for like 3 years almost, and I really haven't opened up about my type 1 much, if at all. It's just something that like I'm so used to not sharing, and in the back of my head I'm like, I'm a fitness channel, I'm a fitness Instagram, I'm a fitness YouTube, like that's how people come to me. And then I'm like, a lot of the stuff I share isn't all fitness. Like I talk a lot about lifestyle stuff and just share a lot of my life, and I talk a lot about different like mindset things and just overall health and whatever. And this is obviously a huge part of my life. Like type 1 diabetes is no joke, and it's something that consumes a lot of my life. So let's get into it. What is type 1 diabetes? Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. It's also referred to often as juvenile diabetes, just because most of the time people are diagnosed as children. So it's nothing that you can like avoid having. It's not something that is onset again by like something that you do or don't do or do wrong. It is in large part genetic. So I was diagnosed when I was 11 years old. My grandmother also had type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed as an adult, but my younger sister also has type 1 diabetes. My brother doesn't, but my little sister, she is 21 now, and she's had it since she was 1. It's very uncommon for 2 people in the same family to get it. Often it does give a generation, like my grandma had it, and then my sister and I got it, but it's really weird that both my sister and I have it. So a lot of people get type 1 and type 2 diabetes confused, and like I said, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. It is in large part just genetically induced. Type 2 diabetes, it can run in your family, or it is genetic, but it can be onset by like having a poor diet, by being overweight and things like that. So I do get questions all the time like, how are you diabetic? Like you're so fit and lean, and like you've been an athlete and whatever. And it's nothing that you can help. Like my grandma was a professional tennis player. My sister is like super athletic. Type 2 diabetes also can be treated a lot of times through like medication, whereas type 1, like I need to give myself insulin, which I'll get into in a bit. Type 2 can be reversed sometimes. Type 1 cannot. Like I'm stuck with type 1 diabetes until there is a cure, which there is not yet. So that's kind of like the main differences, just to lay that out there. Now I will say autoimmune diseases oftentimes are linked, and that's something I think I talked about in my Q&A. So I also have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease, and I found that out after my type 1. I had been diagnosed for like a year, and then I found out I had celiac. I got a blood test and it came back positive, so I got another one. That came back positive again, and so I went and got a biopsy, and that's how I found out I had celiac. And there is a possibility that I had celiac before the diabetes, and because it was untreated, my diabetes came out. So that's kind of the only thing that can awaken it, if that makes sense, is like another autoimmune disease, or sometimes like other illnesses or medications and stuff like that. My pancreas does not secrete insulin. So insulin is a hormone that your body produces to basically metabolize carbs. What insulin does is it shuttles glucose, which basically is carbohydrates, into your cells, and it is the main form of energy for your muscles and for your liver. So it's shuttled to your muscles and stored as glycogen. It is stored in your liver as glycogen as well. When glucose isn't shuttled into your cells, it just floats around in like your bloodstream in your body, and it can actually be very poisonous or harmful to your body. So when you hear about people who have high blood sugar or low blood sugar, high blood sugar would be that not all that glucose is being shuttled into your cells. So you have a lot of loose glucose just like floating around your bloodstream, not being metabolized. For a type 1 diabetic, my body does not produce insulin. So I have to give myself insulin through injections and stuff like that so that my body can metabolize the carbs that I'm using. Also for the normal person, if you haven't eaten in a while, a lot of times that glucose stored as glycogen in your liver will be like broken down back into glucose, so you have enough glucose in your bloodstream. My body again does not do that, and when you have excess sugar, glucose floating around in your bloodstream, it can cause a lot of life-threatening complications. So for diabetics, you can like lose eyesight, you can get like really bad sores and stuff that don't heal, you have an awful immune system. If any of you guys have ever struggled just having like higher low blood sugar episodes, you know how awful it feels. For me, when I've had blood sugar, I feel super nauseous. I'm super thirsty. I'm peeing like every 5 seconds. When I have low blood sugar, I have no energy. I feel very like out of it. I'm starving usually because my body's like, give me glucose. And yeah, it's not a fun time. I'm just gonna kind of show you guys like what I do to manage my blood sugar. My doctors like me to keep my blood sugar between 80 and 120. It's really hard to have a much narrower range than that. If I eat something that has carbs and I don't give insulin, my blood sugar is going to skyrocket. When I was diagnosed, my blood sugar, keep in mind the normal person's is like 80, we'll say, my blood sugar was like 900. So like I could have died. I've had low episodes as low as being like 40. When I eat, if I don't give insulin, my blood sugar will skyrocket. If I give too much insulin or I go too long without eating, or like exercise and stuff like that can lower my blood sugar. So like I said, for the normal person, your body is going to, or your pancreas is going to secrete insulin every time that you eat. If you are going a long time without eating or you're training or whatever, it'll break down glycogen in your liver to make more glucose so that your blood sugar is like stable, right? Now, what I do, I use these nice little syringes. I always feel like a druggie when I have these, but I have lots of syringes, and I give myself this insulin. So the insulin that I use, there are a lot of types, but the one that I use and I have always used is Humalog. So it comes in these little vials, and I draw this out and inject it into myself. So I'll kind of go into like how I do that and how I decide how much insulin to give and all of that later in the video, just kind of in the day in the life portion. But just wanted you guys to know that this is what you will see me giving. I also use this insulin, and this is a long-acting insulin. So this basically holds my blood sugar more stable throughout a 24-hour span. This I just use to counteract the carbs and stuff that I'm eating. So I give myself this every night before I go to bed. Now to check my blood sugar to make sure that I am staying stable and in that good range, I have two options. So one is to check my blood sugar, and you can buy these literally at any pharmacy. There's this little finger prick, so I prick my finger. I just put my blood on this little thing and it reads my blood sugar. Now the other option is using my Dexcom. So that's what it looks like. And that's what I've been doing recently because it's a pain in the freaking butt, A, to remember to do this all the time, and B, just to do it. And I have like a bunch of calluses and stuff on my fingers just from pricking them like 10 times a day ever since I was 11 years old. But this little gadget my Dexcom does is it reads my blood sugar all the time. So it's a little needle that's stuck in my butt. It connects through Bluetooth to my phone, and there's a little app called Dexcom G6, and basically it reads my blood sugar 24/7. And again, I will show you guys this more in the later portion of my video, but I just wanted you guys to know two methods I can check my blood sugar are through this or my kit. Last thing I want to talk about before we move on with the video is just kind of how diabetes can impact my bodybuilding, physique, training goals. So insulin is a very anabolic hormone, which means it is very conducive to muscle growth. Therefore, because my body does not produce insulin, diabetes is known as a very catabolic disease, which means it is very not conducive to muscle growth if it is not handled appropriately. Why insulin is anabolic is it again, helps shuttle glucose to your muscles, stores it as glycogen, which obviously is very conducive and necessary for muscle growth and muscle recovery. Insulin also does help stimulate protein synthesis, so the breakdown of protein, digesting protein, utilizing protein, which is also obviously very important as a bodybuilder, someone who is trying to build or even retain muscle. If my body's not producing insulin and I'm not giving it insulin, one, I will be insulin resistant for, I think people say like really insulin resistant for like 8 hours after I take care of that high blood sugar, but it can be up to 24 hours. So insulin resistance basically means that my body is not utilizing insulin as efficiently as it should be. If I'm not giving myself enough insulin, my body's ability to store nutrients is very much so hindered, aka like I won't be able to recover. There is a lack of insulin. Protein synthesis is extremely downregulated, which again, if your muscles are made up of protein, amino acids, right? So if your body isn't breaking down and utilizing protein like it should be, that is very no bueno. Now there's other side of like, if I give too much insulin, obviously I feel like shit and I'm gonna have horrible training sessions if I like feel like I'm gonna pass out. Like if you've ever had an episode of low blood sugar, like you know how bad it is, and for a diabetic who gets really low, it's really, it's way worse. Also, just in terms of like sticking to macros or whatever, I have to eat sugar carbs when my blood sugar is low. So obviously that can throw things off there. It really doesn't for me, but just because I track my macros so I can like fit that stuff in, but it definitely could be a hindrance. And I know a lot of diabetics have a hard time like losing weight or regulating their body weight, just because if they are consistently going low and eating a bunch of sugar, which obviously is not very satisfying, that is a lot of extra calories. And it's not like your body doesn't use those calories, like they still count, you know? I feel like this was really long, but I am going to take you through my day tomorrow. I did just want to kind of give some like background info. Hopefully this was helpful, and enjoy the video. Good morning. It is Monday, February 11th, I believe. Now it's like 8:30 a.m. You guys saw I had my coffee. I always check my blood sugar on my little Dexcom, so you guys saw it was 99. I'm curious what it is right now. Okay, so it jumped up to 147, which is a little bit higher than I would like. And that is actually because caffeine does spike your blood sugar, which a lot of people don't realize. So I'm about to make breakfast. I always give insulin for my food before I eat. The reason is you don't want the carbs to hit before your insulin does, right? You want them to match up, otherwise your blood sugar is gonna spike. Tracking my food actually makes it very easy to know how much insulin to give. I don't want to throw too much info at you all at once, so I'm gonna kind of do this like meal by meal, show you different things. So this meal I have in my FitnessPal, it's 71.7 carb, 14.4 fat, and 36.9 protein for this meal. So I give insulin, I give 1 unit for every 10 grams of carbs that I eat right now. So that means I'll be giving 7 units of insulin for this meal, if that makes sense. So I showed you guys my insulin. I use this little syringe. And then basically what I do is I draw myself, there's like little markers on here. I draw myself 7 units. And then I like to give my insulin right here in my legs, so it's a balancing act. We just do that. We're good to go. And this is breakfast. Not as pretty as usual, but egg whites, cream of rice, and oats that I mixed. Blueberries, banana, almond butter, egg. You guys know the deal by now. But I'm gonna eat this, get to work. It's a big check-in day for me. And I'll catch up with you guys either if I think of something to share about my diabetes, or at the next meal, or the next time I give insulin, or whatever. Okay, we are leaving the house. I think it's like 3 o'clock right now, and I'm actually going to look at cars. Guys, I don't know why this song every time, ain't no lie, every time I connect my like Spotify to this car, this song comes on, and like I don't have it in my songs or like a playlist I always listen to. Like I don't listen to the song usually, but it always comes on. What I did want to show you is what I keep in my car at all times, just because like you never know when you're out and about. Like my blood sugar could tank, obviously I could end up super high, and like you don't want to just be out of the house and like not be able to do anything about that, right? Plus it can just be super dangerous to drive if you, especially if you have low blood sugar, just because cognitively you're not all there. I do keep just really quick sugar in my car, so I have a bag of Sour Patch Kids, and if I run out I will just go to a gas station and get more. I do keep insulin and some syringes in my car as well. Usually I do keep a kit like to test my blood sugar in my car too, but I have one in my purse, and this is a rental car, so I just don't have it all stocked, and obviously I'm wearing my Dexcom right now. Honestly, I know like gummy candy is such a craze right now, and everyone's like, oh, like you're so lucky you get to eat that if you get low, and like I would never like choose to pick up like Sour Patch Kids or gummies or Swedish Fish. Like I used to love them, but now I just in my head correlate them with like low blood sugar. Same with honey, because that's something that I'll keep with me, or I've done in the past too, is have honey if my blood sugar gets really low. And if your blood sugar is low, you just want really quick sugar. So think like juice, Gatorade, gummy candy. Frosting is one that I used to keep a little tube of frosting in case it got super low. Things that as a diabetic you do want to stay away from, just because they will really spike your blood sugar. And it's not that sugar is inherently bad, but if you're having sugar on its own, it will spike your blood sugar. And that is why diabetics, most people will say if you do have low blood sugar, you want to also make sure you're having some protein and fat following to like slow down the digestion of those carbs. But if you do want to get your blood sugar up super quickly, you're gonna have like just sugar or just very fast digesting carbs, versus something like a sweet potato or like something like really slow digesting, or something with a lot of protein or fat in it. 3 car dealerships later, I think I know what car I'm getting, so that's exciting. It will be a surprise, but I told you guys I always check where I'm sitting blood sugar wise when I am driving. So I am, you can't see it, but I'm 95, which is good. It's like 5:30 right now, so I'm headed home. I'm gonna look at the road because I'm like very anal about driving and being safe. Right now I was at a light, now we're not, but I'm gonna make some food. We're gonna go to the gym. Okay, so we're home. I changed to go to the gym, which wasn't really changing. I put on the shirt I was wearing this morning on again. But I'm gonna make some food before I go to the gym. And I told you guys, I literally looked at my blood sugar like 5 minutes ago in the car. Now we're sitting at 102, which is on the money. And I mean, the same thing applies like literally every time I eat, guys. So I told you guys to give 1 unit for every 10 grams of carbs that I eat pre-workout, because I'm about to go work out and I don't want my blood sugar to go super low, which my blood sugar typically like tanks when I'm training. There's a couple things I do to prevent that. So one, I give less insulin. So like the sliding scale I use, and that ratio changes. So instead of giving 1 unit for every 10 grams of carbs I eat, I'm gonna give 1 unit for every 15. And then the other thing that like every diabetic should do this, and honestly this could help like the general population with training, is there's this whole thing about like you just want carbs before you work out, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna spike your insulin levels if you're not diabetic, and then you will drop very quickly, right? So to prevent that like spike and drop, both in energy and for me like with my blood sugar, having fat and protein with your carbs every time you have carbs will really help keep blood sugar stable. So I told you guys like when I'm super low and why I keep like gummies and stuff with me. That's like if I need my blood sugar to get up very quickly. I want to like have some fat and some protein with my carbs so that I don't spike and tank, and that kind of applies for every meal. Like I'll never have just carbs, if that makes sense. So I have Greek yogurt with cereal, and you guys have seen this a million times, but I crumbled like a quarter of this Diabetic peanut butter bar, which are freaking phenomenal. On top, blueberries, nanner, and then some good old legendary foods. Okay, so we're at the gym, and before I head in to go lift some things, one, I want to show you my blood sugar is 160, which obviously is a little high, but like I said, I know it's gonna drop. So I like to go into my workouts 150 to 170, which is higher, but I will be down in like T-minus 20 minutes, guaranteed. And I also want to show you guys what's in my gym bag besides booty bands, my training log, so I do log all my workouts, like the weight and reps that I use, so I can make sure we're utilizing progressive overload. And then more gummy candy. So I honestly just have like gummies or this kind of candy like everywhere in case we do get low. I've gotten asked by some diabetics, like, do I take intra-workout carbs because people have a problem like I do with blood sugar dropping? No, I don't, because if you designate intra-workout carbs and you don't need them, your blood sugar is still gonna spike, and I don't want that. So I have intra-workout carbs if I need them and I notice my blood sugar dropping, but otherwise I try to be proactive and just go in with a bit of a higher blood glucose. Yeah, that is kind of how I handle that. And now I'm gonna go get after it. Okay, workout is done. I did my cardio too. I always do this. I forget that I have it. And my week goes like Wednesday to Wednesday because I check in on Wednesday and I just have 2 20-minute sessions a week of like low intensity, steady state. I actually get asked what cardio I do all the time. I'll either walk on an incline or do like low intensity on the stairs. And I always forget about it because I'm just very concentrated on like training, because that's obviously what's gonna help me progress. My cardio is just kind of like for digestion, to like get things moving. But anyways, then I end up having to do 2 sessions 2 days in a row because it's Monday and I have to do one today and one tomorrow, and I'm like, God damn, why do I do this to myself? You see my blood sugar is 76 now, and that arrow pointing sideways, like it'll tell me if my blood sugar is going up or down, so you'll see I'm like stable there. So you guys see my blood sugar did come down a lot. So if I had gone into that workout like at like a great blood sugar, I either would have had to stop in the middle to like eat something probably, or I would have tanked super, super low, which I've had happen before. And like 76 is a bit low, but again, like I'm stable there, and that is like, that's very like normal for a normal person. Now we're gonna go home and make some food and shower. And we have dinner. In brief summary, the same thing applies kind of as before my workout. So I'm gonna use the same sliding scale in terms of giving 1 unit for every 15 grams of carbs for this meal, which obviously my post-workout was very high carb. Again, it has protein. I think this one has like 15 grams of fat, which is pretty like on the lower end of fat, just because my fat is very high right now, so it's on the lower end of fat for most of my meals. But because I told you my blood sugar has a tendency to tank after my workout and during it, I give a little bit less insulin. So I'll give 1 unit for every 15 grams of carbs for this meal, or I already did. So that is this. I'm gonna eat it now. It's just turkey, rice, an egg, avocado, asparagus, and mozzarella cheese. So, okay. So I just showered, we got some work done. We researched some car stuff, and now I am about to make my last meal, and also give my Lantus, which is the long-acting insulin that I talked about at the beginning of this video. So I give that every night before I go to bed, so between the hours of 11 and 1 a.m. typically. And basically this insulin, it just lasts all day, and it doesn't keep my blood sugar stable. Like obviously I still have to compensate for the carbs that I'm eating, but it keeps my baseline stable, if that makes sense. So pretty much every diabetic is going to take a long-acting and a short-acting insulin. The amount that I use of that, it does change kind of as I gain weight, and 2, as I'm eating more and I become more insulin resistant. For example, in the depths of my prep, I was giving, this is what it looks like, by the way, and I just use the syringe to dry it out, but in the depths of my prep, I was giving like 15 units of Lantus at night, and obviously barely any Humalog because my carbs were a lot lower. And now I'm giving 28 units of this at night. So just because I'm eating more, I'm a bigger human, and I am more insulin resistant since my intake is very high, my carbs are very high. I'm giving a lot more insulin. Just to draw it up like normal. I use this pen instead of the little vial. Because I'm really scared of confusing them. Because for example, if I gave 30 units or 28 units of the short acting insulin, that would be compensating for like 300 grams of carbs, right? So my blood sugar, I would like die. Just giving it, I give it a little bit lower in my leg, and I do switch legs because you don't want to get scar tissue. I'm just giving my insulin as normal for my last meal. So that's how that works. And the dosage of my other short-acting insulin does change also kind of as I bulk and get more insulin resistant. So I do give more insulin like per carb now. So that's something that is always changing, and that's why it's so important to check all the time, because what worked a couple months ago might not work now, especially when your body composition and the way you train and the amount of cardio you're doing and stuff always changes. Okay, so the last meal, nothing else is new. I just have oats, cream of rice, banana, blueberry, half a serving of this, what is it? Honey pecan Philadelphia cream cheese. And for the second time today, I look like a literal potato, but second time today I have Legendary Foods. I think it was my last video, my Q&A, someone asked if I was still sponsored by Legendary Foods, and it reminded me that I had to hit them up and get more. Didn't realize how much I missed it until I had it. Now I think I've gone through like 3/4 of this jar in like 3 days. So that's that, but code Lexi, 10%, 15%, something percent off in the description box. Well, hello, a day and an unwashed spray tan later, but my camera actually died when I was filming my outro last night, and I just finished editing this vlog, so I did want to close it out and just say thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really excited about this vlog, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I think I said it at the beginning of this video, but it's just really cool for me to actually like talk about this disease and like this part of my life, because obviously it does consume a huge chunk of my life, and I think it's weird talking about it because there's so much that I just do, and I don't realize like how much it is, if that makes sense. And even like reflecting back on like when I was diagnosed with diabetes, obviously I didn't like track my intake using my fitness pal, and I remember like looking at flashcards, like memorizing the amount of like carbs and things, and just like learning about all of this for myself. And I mean, maybe there's some of you guys who are newly diagnosed out there who are watching this, and I hope that this was helpful for those of you who don't know anyone with diabetes and have no experience with it. Maybe it just gave you guys some insight kind of into my life, and just showed you a different like part of me and what I deal with. But regardless, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I know it was a long video, but comment, share, like, subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one.